All right, today we're going to go on a bit of a journey. We're going from that constant buzzing anxiety of the digital world to a place of really profound, powerful focus. Together, we're going to explore the shadows of all this digital noise and figure out how to build a mental fortress against it.
I mean, you know that feeling, right? That sudden, totally out of nowhere jolt of anxiety when you're just sitting at home doing nothing. You pick up your phone, you scroll for like a minute, and bam! Suddenly your quiet evening feels like a complete and total failure.
Yeah, you see friends at dinner, a colleague at some conference, an influencer launching something new, and that little voice in your head just starts whispering, everyone is doing something important, except me. You're not just looking at pictures at that point. You are actively mourning the infinite lives you aren't living.
So this feeling, it has a name. FOMO. We all know it, but let's call it what it really is. A phantom urgency. It's like this modern ghost that just haunts our pockets, a heavy, restless weight that turns every single moment of potential peace into another opportunity for social comparison.
And what does it do? It creates this endless pressure, this constant nagging need to be everywhere, to see everything, to know what's happening at all times.
And here's the brutal paradox, right? That exact need to be everywhere online becomes the single biggest barrier to being truly present, to being fully anywhere in your own life.
So, what's really going on here? Well, that fear of missing out, it's actually just a mask for a much deeper fear. The fear of becoming irrelevant in a world that never, ever stops moving. Your brain has simply gotten addicted to elsewhere.
Okay, so this is where we pivot. Because what if the solution isn't to just frantically keep up, to connect even more? What if the real power actually lies in learning how to strategically disconnect?
And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. We need to build an antidote. We're talking about constructing a mental fortress of focus that can protect your mind from the constant siege of all that digital noise. Now, the protocol for building this fortress is called deep work. And let's be super clear, this isn't just working hard. No, it is a very specific state of distraction-free concentration where you push your skills right to the very edge of their capacity.
This quote just completely reframes the entire concept. Focus isn't a mood you wait for, like inspiration. It's a system you build. It's a wall, a deliberate, structural barrier that you erect between your mind and the world's distractions.
And that's the key right there. This isn't about simple time management or some to-do list app. This is about architecture. It's about consciously designing and managing your own neural environment, giving your brain the silent space it actually needs to do its best work.
So, okay, how does this work in practice? Well, it comes down to something called resource concentration. Instead of spreading your energy thinly across a dozen shallow tasks, you channel 100% of your focus onto the vital few, that 20% of activities that generate the most significant results. And the outcome of that intense focus is, well, it's staggering. You can produce results that are 10 times better than the average person who's constantly distracted. 10 times. This isn't some minor improvement. It is a complete game changer in terms of your output and your value.
So the crucial point is this. In an economy that's increasingly filled with people doing shallow, easily distracted, and easily replicated work, the rare ability to go deep, to concentrate without distraction, that becomes a superpower. It really is the new IQ.
Okay, let's talk about the final stage here, the ultimate transformation. It's a fundamental shift in how you operate in the world, moving from just being a passive node in a network to becoming an active architect of value. And this just illustrates the difference perfectly. The reactionary node is stuck managing the clock, doing shallow work, constantly reacting to whatever noise comes in. But the original architect, they manage their mental environment, they produce deep, rare work, and they actively weave innovation in the silence they've created.
This is the profound shift. You stop being a slave to the calendar and you become the master of your mind's operating system, your neural OS. You get to decide what programs run and what gets access to your core processing power.
So we'll end with this. Your focus, your attention, it's the most valuable currency you own. It's finite and it's depletable. The question you have to ask yourself is, who or what are you letting spend it?
All right, let's just get right into it. If you feel like you're constantly struggling to focus, just lost in this endless sea of notifications and social media feeds, I've actually got some really good news for you. It's not your fault. Seriously, what you're going through isn't some kind of personal failure. It's actually a deep, deep conflict. Think of it like an evolutionary glitch between your ancient brain and this crazy digital world we've all built.
I mean, it's the question that probably haunts you, right? It haunts me sometimes. You've got all these amazing goals, these big plans, but your attention just feels scattered, pulled in a million different directions at once. So, what is really going on here?
You know, for years, we've all been told the same story. If you can't focus, it's because you just lack willpower, you're not disciplined enough, but that's not it. The real reason is actually so much more interesting. We're talking about an evolutionary glitch. It's this fundamental mismatch between our brain's ancient wiring and the world we live in today. Okay, so first things first, let's really dig in and diagnose this problem by completely tearing down this myth of discipline. We have to understand how our ancient primal programming is reacting, or more accurately, overreacting, to our digital age.
All right, let's talk about something we all know, FOMO, the fear of missing out. Now, you might think this is some silly, modern social media thing, but it's not. It's way deeper than that. This is a primal survival instinct hardwired into us. Think about it. For our ancestors, being excluded from the tribe, being out of the loop, well, that wasn't just embarrassing. It could literally mean death. You'd miss out on where to find food or where the predators were. And get this, your brain is still running that ancient software. It treats that missed party or that trending topic as a genuine threat to your survival.
Here's where it gets crazy. Our brains, they evolved to handle a tribe of, maybe 150 people? That's it. But today, your phone is a window into a massive artificial tribe of over 5 billion people. So that ancient survival instinct, it's not just firing once in a while. It's firing constantly, all day long, desperately trying to keep up with an absolutely impossible amount of social information.
And the symptoms of this glitch? Well, they're probably going to sound pretty familiar to you. First up, you get cognitive fragmentation. That's when your brain feels totally scattered because it's trying to keep tabs on 1,000 different digital rooms at once. Then that leads to this constant status anxiety, this gnawing feeling that you're somehow falling behind in a race that doesn't even have a finish line. And here's the kicker. Every single notification you get triggers a little microdose of cortisol, the stress hormone, as your brain frantically scans for signs of being excluded. And finally, you get hit with the tyranny of choice. So many options for everything that you end up completely paralyzed, unable to choose anything at all.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? By trying to keep every door open, you are effectively standing still in the hallway, exhausted by the draft. Wow. That feeling, that paralysis, that's your brain's ancient survival strategy completely backfiring on you in the modern world.
Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it's a big one. But here's the good news. And there is good news. We can absolutely fight back. We can build what I like to call a fortress of focus to defend our attention. So let's take a look at the blueprint. Now, this next idea is a really critical shift in how we think about this. Focus is not a feeling. It is a structural barrier. Let that sink in. Focus isn't some magical mood you just wait to arrive. It's a structure. It's a barrier that you have to intentionally, deliberately build around your attention. So how do you build this barrier? Well, the number one tool in our toolbox is something called deep work. It's a very specific protocol. Basically, you create a completely distraction-free space, and then you push your mind to its absolute limits on a single tough task. It's exactly like a high-intensity workout for your brain. And that fortress metaphor is just perfect, isn't it? You are literally intentionally building walls to insulate your mind from all that digital noise. You're creating a safe, quiet space where you can actually think clearly.
All right, so if we're going to be the architects of our own focus, then we're going to need a blueprint, right? So let's get into the practical strategy. The core principle here is something called resource concentration. And this is all about being strategic. This is not about working harder on everything. No way. It's about focusing 100% of your energy on that small handful of things, that critical 20% of tasks that will generate the absolute most important results. And just look at the payoff here. It's incredible. That small, focused investment of effort on the right tasks, it doesn't just give you slightly better results. We're talking about results that are exponentially better, like 10 times better. This is the real difference between doing average work and doing truly exceptional work. And here's the coolest part, the actual neuroscience behind it. When you get into that fortress of focus and really push your cognitive limits, you are physically changing your brain. You trigger this process called myelination.
Now, think of it like this. It's like wrapping insulation around the most important electrical wires in your brain. And what does that do? It makes those pathways faster, stronger, and way more efficient. You are literally rewiring your brain for high performance. So this all requires a huge mindset shift. We are obsessed with time management, right? Calendars, to-do lists, but that's not the real game. The real game is neural environment management. It's about curating the mental space around you so that high-quality thought can actually happen in the first place. And when you make this shift, something amazing happens. You go through a complete transformation. You stop being just another passive node reacting to the network, and you become the architect of your own mind. Just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the reactionary node. This person is constantly reacting to noise, just managing their time, and producing shallow work that anyone could do. But on the other side, you have the original architect. This person insulates themselves from the noise, they manage their neural environment, and they produce work that is rare, deep, and incredibly valuable. This is the choice that's in front of all of us. And look, in today's economy, this is everything. We live in a world where pretty much everyone is operating in a state of constant distraction. So the person who can actually cultivate the ability to go deep, to focus intensely, that person has a genuine superpower. It is the ultimate competitive advantage, period. So really, it all boils down to one simple question you have to ask yourself. Are you using your attention to build the life you want, brick by brick, with focused effort? Or is it just being spent endlessly scrolling, watching the lives of 5 billion other people unfold? And I just want to leave you with this one final thought. The deep fear that drives all of this distraction, it's the fear of missing out, right? But the great tragic irony here is that by desperately trying not to miss out on everything, you end up missing out on the one thing that truly, truly matters, and that's your life. Ever feel just completely drained by the digital world? Like you're running on empty all the time? Well, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. In this explainer, we're going to dive into a really powerful way to get your focus and your sanity back in this super noisy, always-on world we're all living in. Okay, before we even get started, just take a breath and let this one sink in for a second. That bone-deep exhaustion you feel, it's not a personal failure. It's not a weakness. It's a completely natural human response to a totally unnatural environment. It's your mind and body sending up a flare, not a sign that you're broken. And here's why. Think about it. Our brains were never, ever built to handle the constant fire hose of other people's curated highlight reels. It creates this quiet, simmering frustration, right? That little voice in your head that says you're not enough compared to some perfect image on a screen. So if you feel like you need to unplug and disconnect, you're not being antisocial. You're just being human. So what do we actually do about all this noise? How do we build some kind of response? Well, the first step is really understanding what we're actually up against. The source material has a perfect name for this: digital fatigue. It's that weird, lonely feeling of being technically connected to thousands of people, but feeling like you don't truly belong to anyone. It's that unique kind of burnout that only comes from being constantly available, just one ping away from being pulled out of your own life. And when we feel this way, what do? We often go searching for a little hit of validation online, a like, a share, a quick comment, but it's a total dead end. That little dopamine buzz lasts for a second, but it does absolutely nothing for our real, deep-seated need for meaning and genuine connection. It doesn't help us create anything of value. And that brings us to this really important choice, a question that kind of changes everything. If you decide to stop letting the outside world, all the notifications, all the trends, define your inside world, what's left? What actually matters to you? Answering that question is the first step toward the solution. Which brings us to this amazing concept, the fortress of focus. Now, this isn't about just trying to ignore distractions. No. This is about proactively, intentionally building a powerful mental sanctuary where you can finally do your best thinking and your best work. So, what are the bricks and mortar of this fortress? It's a practice called deep work. The source material defines it as taking on those really tough, mentally demanding tasks in a state of pure, distraction-free concentration. The kind of focus that pushes you right to the edge of your abilities. It's about creating, not just reacting. I love this slide because it's such a game-changing way to think about it. Focus isn't some fleeting feeling you just hope to catch, like inspiration. It's a structural barrier. It's a defensive wall that you consciously design and build to protect the single most valuable thing you own, your attention. Okay, so if we're going to build a fortress, we need some blueprints, right? Let's get into the actual practical rules for how you construct this space for deep work. The first, and honestly the most important rule, is what the source calls resource concentration. To put it simply, this is about being absolutely ruthless and strategic about where you point your limited time and brain power.
The idea is so simple, but it is so powerful. You figure out that vital 20% of your tasks, the ones that give you the biggest bang for your buck, and then you pour 100% of your focused energy into only those things. It's a huge shift from just trying to be busy to actually being effective.
And the payoff for working this way? It's not just a little better, it's huge. The source suggests that by concentrating your energy like this, you can produce work that is, on average, 10 times better than what everyone else is doing. In a world drowning in shallow, distracted work, the ability to go deep is a legitimate superpower.
So this all boils down to a really fundamental change in your mindset. You have to stop trying to manage your time and instead start managing your neural environment. What does that mean? It means curating your own mental space, controlling what you let in, creating quiet moments, and basically designing an inner world that's built for high-level thinking.
Now, when you start to practice deep work, it doesn't just change what you do, it fundamentally changes who you are. It shifts you from being what the source calls a node to becoming an architect. This slide lays out the difference perfectly. On one side, you've got the reactionary node. This person just reacts to whatever comes at them. Every email, every notification, every demand. Their work is shallow, and frankly, it's easily replicated. But on the other side, you have the original architect. This person creates rare, valuable things from inside their fortress of focus. They don't just react, they originate. And this brings us to the real reward, the ultimate goal of all this. Building this fortress isn't just about grinding or being more productive. It's about finding a much deeper, more sustainable kind of happiness, which the source calls the joy of missing out.
I mean, just think of this quote as a permission slip for your soul. The joy of missing out is that profound, liberating feeling when you realize you don't have to keep up with everything and everyone. You are allowed to be quiet. You're allowed to go slow. You're allowed to be fully present right here, right now, with no apologies.
Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about. The goal of building your fortress isn't just to get more stuff done. It's about reclaiming your own attention. It's about being fully present in your own life so you can finally hear what you think and do the work that actually matters to you. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Once you've built those walls, once you've protected yourself from all the noise and created that sacred space for focus, what incredible things are you going to build? What ideas will you finally bring to life? All right, let's get right into it. In a world that's basically designed to pull you in a million different directions, your ability to focus, well, that's your most valuable asset. Today, we're going to talk about how to build a fortress around that focus and really move from all that digital noise to deep, meaningful work. But first, let's start with a really honest question. Is that phone in your pocket stealing your potential? I mean, seriously, think about it. That little device could be unlocking your best work, but is it actually serving you or are you serving it?
Oh, you know the feeling we all do. It's that constant, low-level hum of anxiety, that phantom buzz in your pocket. It's that fear of missing out, that endless scroll promising something amazing just around the corner. It's a pull that too often just leaves us feeling totally scattered.
Now, just noticing that feeling, that's a huge first step. It really is. But seeing the trap is only the beginning of your freedom. To really break free, we have to go beyond just passively watching it happen. We have to get active. We need a system. So let's start with something you can do tonight. It's a simple, but I promise you, a really powerful experiment. We call it the digital sunset. And this is your first real, concrete step toward taking back your focus. So here's the challenge. 1 hour before you plan to go to sleep, take your phone and put it in another room. And then, just sit with it. Experience the silence. Notice that anxiety that pops up, that itch to check, that feeling of being out of the loop. But here's the key, don't judge it. Just watch that feeling pass, almost like it's a cloud just floating by. That's it. That's step one. So why is this little exercise so powerful? Because it reveals a fundamental truth. That urge for distraction, it's an emotional reaction. But real lasting focus, that isn't something we just feel, it's something we build. It's all about making that shift from an emotional reaction to what we call systemic focus. And that idea right there brings us to the next level, actually constructing a mental environment that's designed for pure, uninterrupted concentration. Think of it as building your own fortress of focus. Now, this is a total paradigm shift for most people. We're taught to think, oh, I'll work when I feel motivated or when I feel focused. This flips that completely on its head. Focus isn't some magical feeling you wait for. It's a structural barrier you intentionally build against distraction. Let's break that down because this is important. A feeling is passive. It's unreliable. It comes and it goes, right? But a structure is deliberate. It's defensive. So instead of just sitting around waiting for motivation to strike, you build a system that protects your attention by default. So what do you actually do inside this fortress? You practice something called deep work. And this is not about being busy. It's about that state of intense, distraction-free concentration on the hard stuff, the kind of work that actually pushes your skills right to their limit. And here's what's literally happening inside your brain when you do this. You're not just working harder, you're fundamentally rewiring your brain. You're strengthening the neural pathways for your most important skills. The more you practice this, the easier it gets, until that friction just disappears and you can drop right into that state of flow. You know, this whole approach really presents you with a choice, a fundamental choice in how you operate in the world today. You can either be a passive node in the giant network, or you can be the active architect of your own focus. See, the architect understands this one incredibly powerful principle, resource concentration. It's the old 80-20 rule, the idea that focusing all your energy on that vital 20% of tasks, well, that's what generates 80% of your results. It's how you get those outsized returns that other people just can't seem to figure out. And here's the bottom line. In today's economy, most of the work being done is shallow work. You know, it's reactive, it's easy to replicate. So in a world that is drowning in noise, the ability to go deep, that isn't just another skill. It's a superpower. It's rare, it's valuable, and it is what will set you apart. So let's just lay it all out there. The reactionary node, they're just reacting to all the external noise, emails, notifications, the latest trends. But the original architect, they prioritize their own internal goals. A node tries to manage their time. An architect manages their entire neural environment to create the space they need to do incredible work. And I want you to remember this. Once you've built your fortress, once you've learned how to do deep work, you unlock a capacity for concentration and creation that the superficial noise of the world, it just can't touch. So you've seen the problem and you've seen the framework for the solution. This is it. This is the decision point. What are you going to do about it starting right now? So, the real question is, are you ready to stop being a victim of the infinite feed and start being the architect of your own attention? If you are, then I want you to join me for the next step. Over on our main channel, we go so much deeper on all of this. We explored the attention economics that got us into this mess. We use systems thinking to help you build that fortress, and we give you the practical tools you need to create that unshakable focus we've been talking about. So, the call to action is simple. Subscribe to both channels. Make the choice, right now, to protect your most valuable asset. Seriously, don't let your potential get stolen by one more meaningless notification. This isn't just about being more productive, you know? It's about reclaiming your mind so you can live an extraordinary life. Your transformation from digital noise to a life of mastery, it starts right now. Your presence begins now.